Hey. I know what we're doing. What are we doing? We are doing chapter 13. Oh, this is the best chapter. This is often students' absolute favorite chapter of the whole semester. So, yay. It'll definitely be broken up into two parts, though, because it's long. And we're going to cover it in 2 days anyway, so that will help. But it's a great chapter. It's what most people think of when they think of psychology. They think of this. And so this is usually a very well loved and interesting chapter. Yay. So I'm going to pull up study guide. Boom. Oh, we got to log back in. Okay. So this chapter 13 study guide, personality. Your personality, question number 1, is relatively permanent pattern of behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. So let's break this definition apart. Relatively permanent means it's pretty stable. Relatively means compared to other things. Permanent, you know what permanent means. So it's pretty stable. Now, it doesn't mean that your personality is completely set in stone. You can change certain aspects of it. You can change how you react to certain things. You can tame down some parts of your personality, but to say that we can do a major overhaul and totally change who you are, not going to happen. So it's relatively permanent. And it's a pattern of behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. Well, geez, behaviors is what we can see you do. Thoughts are what's going on inside your head, and of course, feelings. So what else is left to you? I mean, isn't that who you are? Your behaviors, thoughts, and feelings, it's everything about you. So when we talk about personality, we're talking about you, who you are. So the rest of the chapter, and I got numbered weird, so I'm going to go to the other way. The rest of the chapter is just looking at different theories of personality, different ways that people have attempted to explain why we think, feel, and act the way we do, where it's come from. And that's what the rest of the whole chapter is about, just breaking it down. So we're going to look at that here. Let's try the document version. I hope that's not what... There we go, that's better. So it needs to be bigger. All right. No, that's not it. That's chapter 14. I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. There, document. Maybe that'll be better. My husband needs something. Just a second. Yeah, I might still be in the car. I think I left it in the car. In the middle console. All right. Well, this is all misnumbered. Maybe let me go try the other one. 13. That's just the unanswered one. Do. Let me try it again. Okay, now that's better. The first theory that we look at is psychodynamic, because they're the first ones who really came up with a comprehensive explanation of our personality, what makes us who we are. So that's psychodynamic, and that's where we spend most of our time. Almost the whole chapter is psychodynamic, so don't get discouraged. The rest of it's not as long as the first part. Freud. Gotta talk about Freud. Everybody knows Freud. Most people have heard of Freud, even if you're not in psychology, they've heard of Freud. Sigmund Freud. So he is the one who started it's called psychoanalytic theory, but when we added a bunch of other people, it became psychodynamic. So he's the starter. He was a neurologist. He was not a psychologist. There were no psychologists at the time, no therapists or anything. He was just a neurologist. So he went to medical school, got a medical degree, and he was treating patients that had neurological symptoms, such as blindness, anything with the senses or muscle movement, anything with the nervous system. And he was using the modern medicine at the time that everybody else used, like magnets and all these kind of contraptions, but he started to lose faith in them. He didn't think they were working. So while he was hooking these people up to all these different kinds of machines and running the current day treatment, he talked to them. And he just said, "So how you doing?" What's your day? What's going on? And these people would just talk about their lives or whatever. And he would have to see him multiple times for this kind of treatment that was popular at the time. And so he'd just continue the conversations every time he saw them. And he started noticing they were getting better. Now, these people were patients that other neurologists sent to him because they weren't having any luck. But these people were getting better. And he knew he was using the same, modern medical treatments as colleagues had used. So the only difference he could think of was that them talking about their life was the reason they were getting better. So he developed the talk treatment, the talking cure, and therapy. Now, this is not a section on therapy, but that's what came out of this, along with the theory of why people are the way they are. So that's who Freud was. He's got some pretty far out ideas, and that's, the exciting part of this chapter and the theory. And a lot of people believe it. A lot of lay people believe it. Psychologists, we like all of them. We like all the theories, but a lot of general population really likes Freud's ideas. And they may sound kind of crazy when we're going to talk about them, but I'm telling you, it's what people believe in. Okay? If you hear anyone say your childhood is important and who you are and what you're like, this theory is the one that says your childhood is a big deal. The other theories don't give childhood any more credibility than current day life for you. So it's the only one that does. So you can see everybody kind of believes this. Question number 3. All right, so now we're starting on a couple topics from Freud that he gave us about personality that we just, really like. So we're going to, and they're most popular. So his levels of awareness. Now I'm going to pull up a diagram. Freud's levels of awareness iceberg. Because that's often what people show and think of when they think of Freud. Okay, so I'm going to turn it around. Well, actually, I'm going to turn the camera around if I can. It doesn't look like I can, so I guess I'll turn this around and hope I can have shown it to you. Is that good enough? Let me see. Yep. So if you do that, just type in levels of awareness iceberg, you'll see that there are 3 levels. We got a conscious level. That's wrong. Let me move that. I do not like that. No. It's not a subconscious. It's an unconscious. Okay, down here. All right, this is better. Let me get it. See if I can show it to you better now. Okay, so we have a conscious level, which is what your current thoughts and perceptions are. So it's what you're thinking about right now. It's what's currently in your head right now. If I said, what are you thinking about? That would be what's in your head. Then we have, it's very small, very shallow. And he uses an iceberg because the saying is just the tip of the iceberg means that there's so much below, and that's how he thinks of our mind. Now, let me say something else real quick. His theory of personality and his ideas that we're going to talk about are coming from what his patients said. Okay? Not his ideas, but what they talked about. He saw themes in what these people talked about when they were with him, when they got better. Okay? I didn't put makeup on again. Sorry. Big dark circles. Okay. So what you're thinking about right now is your conscious level. Okay? It's what's in your head. Then we have a preconscious level. And preconscious is right below the water. Like if you're in a little boat up here, and you drop your keys, you can still see them for a while. You may jump out and try to reach them until they get down the deep, dark water where you can't see them anymore. But this level right here is the pre-conscious, right before consciousness. The things that are in here, you're not thinking of right now. But if I asked you, they would come to your mind very quickly. So it's all the memories that you have in your life and all the knowledge you have, all the facts and memories. My gosh, it's huge. Your first grade teacher's name, your first day of school, other memories, what happened last Christmas, your first kiss, your birthday last year. Oh my goodness, there are so many memories. What happened last weekend? Geez, tons. You probably couldn't even write them all down. There's just too many. That's not all, though. Your stored knowledge. What's 2 + 2? And all your passwords and people's phone numbers and birth dates. And oh my goodness, just tons of facts in your head. What's a red light for? Gosh, darn, how do you start your car? It's huge, again, because you write everything you know. No, of course not. All the facts. Nope. But that is not the majority of your mind. That's just a sliver. Okay, what he thought is the majority of your mind is down here in the unconscious, not subconscious. Okay, unconscious. All right, I wonder if this is worded backward. It's down in the deep water. Okay, you cannot see what's down here. This is where the majority of your brain lies and your mind lies, in this deep, dark water. Well, if you look, I want to zoom it in a little bit. If you look and see what's there, it's violent motives and immoral urges and selfish needs and irrational wishes and fears and unacceptable sexual desires and shameful experiences. It's all this woo stuff that if you acted out on it, you're going to get in trouble in life. You're going to have bad consequences. All right? So that is what Freud thought was the majority of your mind, was this deep, dark water stuff that it lies in the unconscious. Again, people really like this theory. You believe in the unconscious. It's so funny how things are so distorted. My arms look tiny. You believe in it. You get upset if your boyfriend calls you by his ex-girlfriend's name. I mean, why should you get upset about that? It's just a simple mistake. People misname people all the time. But no, you get upset because it means something. It means he's unconsciously thinking about her. See? That's the unconscious stuff. Everybody's all into that. That came from Freud. That came from the psychodynamic theory. All right, so that is... Okay, that was question number 3. And 4, and 5, and 6. So 3 was the levels of awareness, just says that he believes that there's 3 different, distinct kinds of consciousness that we're just aware to varying degrees of what those things that lie in there are. That was a horrible explanation. Question number 4 starts getting into details that we just did. The unconscious, general public calls it subconscious, but it's unconscious. You're only going to see unconscious in our class and in our book, okay? The unconscious is water, not vodka. The unconscious is what we're not aware of. It's in the deep water. So you can see the description there. We don't know what's in there. We can't get to it. We have a good block on it all the time because most of the stuff you saw is not very pleasant. If we acted out on all that stuff, we get in trouble. And it's funny because that's what these patients talked about. They talked about these shameful things. They talked about sex. Now, let me say, this is during a very conservative time in history. It's the late 1800s, the early 1900s. And he's from Austria, Vienna. And it was a very conservative, puritanical time. There were lots of rules on behavior, lots of etiquette, expectations, very conservative. So these people would come in and talk about things that were not appropriate to talk about, but that's where their issues were. And then once they got it out, physical problems went away. So it was the first time not the first time ever, but he really believed that your psychological issues, your emotional or mental issues come out through your body. And sometimes, we need to treat those when we think it's a biological problem. It's really not. Number 5, the preconscious, that's that thin layer under the surface of the water, remember? And then number 6 was what we're thinking about right now, consciousness. All right, so we did that already. Another topic Freud gave us was the id, ego, and superego. And I draw a teeter-totter for that. I've never seen that online, but maybe I'll go ahead and draw it here in Photoshop for you. Let me start a new document. That'll work. So get whoop. I'm gonna draw a little thicker. There's a teeter-totter part. That's better. There's the actual teeter-totter. We got one side. I think there's a picture of this in our class. I'm not sure. In Moodle from what I did in the past. I'm going to turn around and show it to you. Oops. So there's the teeter-totter, a seesaw. You got 3 parts to it, just like 3 parts of our personality according to Freud. Okay, so we have a part here and a part here and then a part here. On this end right here, we're going to have the id. And the id is the part of our personality that we're born with. And it's humongous. It is the part that is all about feeling good, doing what feels good. That's all it cares about. It operates on the pleasure principle, like Janet Jackson. I listen to Janet Jackson every morning when I work out. The pleasure principle. So I'm going to write in id real quick. I-D. Id. It is completely one-track mind. It only wants to feel good. It doesn't care about the consequences in life. It's the part of you that just wants to eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, whatever. It doesn't care about anything else. Beat people up. It doesn't matter. Angry, kick their butts. The id just wants to do it. No conscience, no feeling bad, no consideration for other people. Just do it. Feels good. Then we have the other side of our teeter-totter. Okay, we had the id on one side. Well, a teeter-totter to work, we have to have something on the other side. And it has to be equal strength, doesn't it? Equal weight, equal size. So on the other side of this teeter-totter, to keep us balanced, we have the superego. I'll write that in. I need my pen. That's much better. That's pretty pathetic, but hey. Superego. Okay? We need our superego on the other side. I picture a superego with a cape. It's here to save the day. The superego is on the other end from the id because it's just as crazy. It's just as irrational. Where this id is all about what feels good, what feels good. The superego is about do the right thing, follow the rules. Care about others, follow the rules, do the right thing. It's your conscience. So it's a sense of guilt. It's all worried about the rules. We're not born with the superego. We have to develop a superego. According to Freud, we're born just big giant ids. Babies just cry because they want what they want. They don't care about anybody else. Kids eventually learn to consider their parents and their parents' wants and needs. But, for a long time, it's just me, me, me. And some adults, are like that. Very id-driven, very hedonistic, very impulsive. Don't think about what they do. They just do what feels good and want to keep doing it. They're probably going to end up in prison or jail or without a job. Definitely not people that like them. I mean, we have to have some superego to balance it out. Our teeter-totter can't go all the time with the id. So that's the second part, the superego. Now we have a third part in the middle. And this job is to keep both sides happy. That's why it has to be right in the middle. Okay? Both of these could be potentially very strong. This is always very strong. This hopefully develops very strong, and we'll see where that comes from. But this needs to be right in the middle, and it needs to be super strong too. And we call this the ego. E-G-O. I'm going to write in there. E-G-O. I'll show you. Ego. Okay? That ego is very important for our psychological health in life and our ability to function. We need to have a good, strong ego that can keep these two crazies in wraps, right? In some sort of control. Because they're going to struggle. They're going to fight each other. The id and superego, they're going to fight. No, I want to win. No, I want to win. The ego goes, whoa, guys, come on, bring it back down. We got to keep a balance. We got to keep both of you satisfied. If we don't satisfy the id, we're going to act out eventually in some major way. And if we don't satisfy the superego, we feel so guilty, we're going to be miserable our whole life. So we need to do both. And that's why we need to have a good, strong ego. So Freud often talked about ego strength. Now, we today would say, he's got such a big ego. And it's an insult, it's a put down. That's not the way he meant it. He meant that would be a compliment. If you have a big, strong ego, it means that you can control yourself. You get your id satisfied, but you do it in ways that don't cause a lot of problems for yourself. So you're following the superego's rules, but you are still satisfying the id. So that's healthy. Being able to stand up for yourself in ways that don't squish other people. I mean, that's probably what I would think you would think is a healthy person. So that was number 7. That's a lot. So, we also say that the ego works on reality principle. I don't have a principle for a superego. Oh well. But I've got the reality principle for the ego because it's the only one operating in reality. The other two are just crazy. The ego can see the situation, listens to what the id wants, listens to what the superego wants, and says, okay, shut up, I got to figure this out. Okay? So we need a good, strong superego or ego to be able to do that. Number 8. All right. Anxious. Now that means anything in Freud. It's depression, it's anger, it's stress, it's whatever. I kind of keep my hair up so long it gets on my nerves. It's dirty again. I'm working on the yard. So why are we anxious according to Freud? And again, anxiety is just a general term for him. He thinks it's that battle between the id and superego, the two sides of the teeter-totter. They're battling it out, and it's very stressful. And we want to keep that id under wraps as much as possible because, man, when we act out on our id, we get in some trouble. So we try to keep it squished down, but there's only so long we can do that, okay? That id's going to come out. It's going to come out in our dreams. It's going to come out in slips of the tongue, Freudian slips. It's just going to make its way out. And when it does, we are feeling anxiety for what we just did, what we thought. It may not even be that we're aware of it. We might be feeling really guilty and uncomfortable and don't know why. And Freud would say, well, some of that id, which largely lives in the unconscious, has broken free and it's coming to the surface. It's not into consciousness yet. You don't know what you're thinking yet. You're not aware of it. But it's coming and it's so threatening that it can cause these symptoms even if you don't know exactly what it is. So that's Freud's idea. There we go. That's number 8. Number 9. So what we have to do then, the ego has some tools, some weapons that it uses to defend against that anxiety to help us feel better. Okay? So either we acted out on the id or we're almost going to act out or we realize we want to, and that's threatening to us because we might get in trouble. And we feel anxious. So we got to have a way to deal with it to feel better. And those are called number 9 defense mechanisms. So what they are in general is just a way to reduce anxiety. Okay, when we act out on our id or want to act out on our id. And it's a tool in the ego's toolbox. Number 10, we're just going to go through a couple of them. They're like hundreds. Well, at least 100. Might be more than that. Defense mechanisms that Freud identified and his followers identified. But we just got a couple of them. These are the ones in your book. Repression. So A. You've heard of repressed memories before. This is just when we forget an experience. It's so traumatic, so upsetting, we forget we did it. We forget it happened. It's a nice little technique to not be nervous or worried about things anymore if you forget you did it. Very handy. So it's forgetfulness. We've heard of repressed memories. Memories, experiences that you forgot you had until some trigger pulls them up. Classical conditioning. Then we have B, projection. This is where instead of, again, acknowledging that you have these wants or feelings, you accuse somebody else of having them. You project your wants and desires onto somebody else. You accuse somebody else of wanting to do what it is that you want to do. Now remember, all these things are unacceptable. So we don't want to admit that we feel this way or that we want to do these things. So we will blame somebody else, accuse somebody else, and then tell them how terrible they are. It's kind of smart, isn't it? Who are we really telling? Yep, ourselves. Yeah, it's like a projector. It takes something from here and puts it somewhere else. There's a saying, what you see in others exists in you. So if you think everybody's out to get you, then really you're kind of out to get people. C, number 10C, I think. Reaction formation. This is a hypocrite. This is a person who condemns some behavior for being absolutely horribly morally wrong, and they just pummel it in the ground with how bad they think it is, but actually you find out they're doing it themselves. It's a way to prevent others from knowing it, maybe voicing their own anger at themselves for doing it. So they condemn it, but they're really condemning themselves. Yep. So people who are really, really on a soapbox about how terrible something is, how morally wrong it is, we start to wonder, he doth protest too much. So you claim the exact opposite how you really feel. D, 10D, sublimation. This is an example of one that really helps us. They all can help us if used too much. Instead of facing the truth about yourself, it's bad. But this one's, we like this one. We encourage people to do this. If you sublimate, you take the energy that you are feeling, because, that's coming from not being able to do what it is that you want to do, and you direct it to something socially acceptable, like sports, like music, like art. So you just channel it into something that society says, yay! And your coach says, take it out on the field. You find out that a lot of famous athletes in their personal life are really messed up. A lot of musicians, right, have psychological problems. They use music, or they express themselves through music or art or their sports. These are just good examples. Some people like to run or exercise. You might like to write. I don't know. Any of these things that society says, that's a good channel for getting rid of your anger, for dealing with your anger. That's sublimating. Now, if every time you're upset, you go run instead of dealing with the problem, that's not going to be very functional, right? So we're not talking about that being a good thing repeatedly. But 10E, rationalization. This is my favorite. Everybody's got their favorites. This is when you can come up with a perfectly reasonable explanation for something you just did that was not very nice, or that was very selfish or very id-driven. So you turn it around to where you actually look like you did a nice thing. You did a good thing. So if you're, we might call them a spin doctor. They can turn anything around. You'd be mad at them, and all of a sudden now you're feeling bad that you got mad at them because you totally misunderstood their motive. That's rationalization. They've been able to do that successfully. And then number 10F, denial. That's an easy one. Everybody's familiar with denial. It's different than repression. Repression is, I don't remember doing that. Denial is, I did not do that. So it's like a step further. And 10G, displacement. This is the kick the cat phenomenon. You are upset, you've had a bad day, and your spouse comes in and says something, you just blow up on them. Or your kid, you blow up on your kid. Or, if you work in the public, maybe a customer had a bad day and then they come to exchange something and they can't, and they just go off on you. They just disproportionately to what's going on. They just are so angry. They're probably displacing. They're probably taking their anger from something else in their day and putting it on you. So, very common thing for people to do. Number 11, the psychosexual stages of development. This is more Freud, but I think I'm going to put this on another video and start at number 11 because it takes a while, and usually I like the videos to be about 30 minutes, and it cuts me off after 30 some minutes anyway. So I am going to start a new video for number 11 through 25, chapter 13.